Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with episode 2 of our F1 Manager career mode. Yesterday we're back with this McLaren series. Of course, if you missed out on the first video that went live earlier on this week, I would highly recommend going back and checking out. I apologise, it's been a bit longer than I wanted between round 1 and round 2. Of course, we have my team, we have F1 Arcade, obviously the launch party for that, so I haven't had a chance to get back in with F1 Manager up until now, but we are returning back for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and of course, yeah, Bahrain didn't quite go the way we would have wanted it to. Like I said, would highly recommend going back and checking that video out if you missed it. But, you know, we've got to move forward. We've got to try and learn more and more about this car, about this team, as we head in towards the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit. I've been having a quick look around a few things. Of course, as always, you guys are giving me so many helpful pointers. Once again, analysing the car performance. Across the board, we just seem to be down, sadly, pretty much everywhere, but not by a lot. You can see power-wise, we're down a little bit, engine loss threshold. I don't actually think being... yeah, no, again, we're slightly better there as well. You can see chassis-wise, again, we're actually quite a way away on the chassis side of things. Their front wing, not too bad. Rear wing as well, they can see just lacking slightly in most areas. So at the moment, it feels like there's no kind of just specific thing that we need to focus on with the car. We've just got to try and make a better car all the way around. So we have got a few upgrades that are meant to be coming in over the next couple of weekends, of course. Sadly, not in time for Saudi Arabia. I feel like we might be set to struggle again this weekend. But of course, yeah, if we can try and start developing some more parts for the cars, that would be quite important there. You can see, unfortunately, no design or research slots available at the moment. So we are going to have to, you know, just slowly but surely. This is not quite going to be like Ferrari, where we can just get in and get up to pace quite quickly. You know, it is going to take us a little bit of time to build up and things like that in the in the McLaren even career mode, I should say. However, we have got a performance perk to apply to Oscar Piastri, so we're just going to focus on whatever his weakest attribute is at the moment. There you can see, can we get him any sort of bonuses or facility upgrades at the moment? I think we're going to have to wait until next weekend there. But yeah, it is going to be, you know, sort of slow and steady progress, trying to get both drivers up to speed, up to where we want them. And yeah, well, I mean, we'll wait and see as to what we can do as well. Stoffel Vandoorne, of course, still in as our reserve driver. No points scored after the opening weekend of the championship. Max Verstappen leads the way ahead of Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez. They're both our drivers 16th and 17th after the opening weekend. But fingers crossed we can try and make good progress. Let's get into it then. Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit. Hopefully, yeah, we can try and take steps in the right direction. But I feel like this weekend is going to be tough again.
Formula One is back. Welcome to one of the fastest circuits on the calendar here at Jeddah. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is about to kick off and the atmosphere here is electric. The Jeddah Street Circuit has one of the fastest average speeds as well as the most corners of any track on the calendar. Good high-speed downforce is going to make life in the fast lane a little easier for drivers here this weekend. We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax. Everything is up for grabs, and nothing is certain at this stage. Okay then, let's get to it.
Right, well, here we are then, back on the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit. Of course, very, very high speed. Still find it a little bit weird that it's now at the start of the season rather than at the end like it was in 2021. But, of course, yeah, the key around here is going to be trying to make sure that we're running as little downforce as possible. So we'll make some tweaks on both the cars there and try and get them out onto the circuit as soon as possible. Yeah, we're running very, very brave there on Oscar Piastri's car, but we shouldn't need 15 laps run time. 13 or 14 we should be able to get away with on both cars. But yeah, we'll try and get them back out there as early as possible. We'll try and run a bit of a different concept on Lando Norris's car. There's slightly more front wing, slightly less rear wing. We'll sort of see what that can do. Just try and make subtle tweaks to bring the car where we need it. And there we go then, second weekend in a row that we're first team out with both of our cars. Of course, desperate to try and pick up as much information as we possibly can at the moment there. But yeah, fingers crossed this weekend we can just try and get through. Like I said, the first few races are all about going to be learning and developing there. As actually, quickly before I forget, You guys always tell me that I need to avoid curbs and drive in clear air during free practice to hopefully try and keep engine wear down. So again, as always, thank you very much for the constant help. You guys are basically holding my hand throughout this series, but that will mean obviously we're down a little bit on pace, but we're just trying to gather data here in free practice. Oscar Piastri not happy with the car then early on in the session, so definitely still need a lot more work to go then. But yeah, luckily he is heading back into the pit lane quite soon. Haven't got anything yet from Lando Norris. But he is a few tenths quicker than his teammate early on here. Looks like, again, it's probably going to be a weekend battle in the Aston Martins and the Williams, rather than pushing towards, you know, the likes of AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo and Haas. And, yep, Lando not happy with the car either. It's getting worse. Right, we just need to make tweaks desperately. Right, well, a complete reshuffle then on both of the cars, and they're right there with just over half an hour to go then once more of the session. They seem to be getting up to pace with the circuit. Of course, yeah, we've got to be a bit careful with Oscar Piastri, of course, heading to all these F1 venues for the very first time there, as he's just, you know, potentially throwing some shade at Alpine behind him. But, yeah, going to be a lot of work to do, though. Hopefully now we're starting to unlock a bit more out of the cars, but I'm not going to hold my breath just yet. 15 minutes to go. Oscar Piastri is still not happy with this car at the moment. I've got to bring him into the pit lane ASAP so we can try and make changes, but what are we meant to do at the moment? Neither driver gelling with the car underneath them. I knew Saudi Arabia was going to be tough, but this is much, much worse than I ever expected it to be. It feels like we're taking a step backwards in comparison to Bahrain, last weekend, and I don't think Lando Norris is faring much better. Oh, Lando's not happy with it. Lando's still not comfortable with it either, so we're just going to have to keep making adjustments on both these cars and pray that we can work out something. 10 minutes to go, free practice here, and we are well and truly on the back foot at the moment. 5 minutes left of the session then. We've managed to get both cars back out there for one last ditch attempt run, but signs are not looking good at the start of the weekend here in Saudi Arabia. Both cars way off the pace, neither driver happy with the car that's underneath them either. We're just trying out of the box stuff now. I mean, according to the setups, I can't even see obviously when we're out on circuit, but even when we've got it within sort of the parameters it believes they should be happy with, it's still not liking it. I just think the car is far too slow around this circuit at the moment. Oscar Piastri then, a couple of minutes left of the session, big lock-up down at turn 12. Whoa, lucky to keep it out of the wall. They're almost did a Latifi from this year, but just goes to show how much they're pushing and how little either of our drivers is still able to extract out of the car. But that's basically going to be the end of free practice, though, here from Saudi Arabia, and we are 2.5 seconds off the pace with both cars. Well, there we go then, the end of free practice, and Charles Leclerc on a set of hard tyres there, a tenth away from Max Verstappen. But again, we managed to get quite a lot of laps in, 31 each for both of our drivers, but a long, long way off where we wanted to be. Of course, we have got to remember that we were avoiding curbs and not, you know, trying to stay in clear air, things like that. So hopefully that's going to carry us a little bit of extra pace as we jump into qualifying, but not quite where we wanted to be after free practice. We're just going to have to pray for a miracle.
Hello and thank you for joining us as our race weekend unfolds. Free practice has concluded and qualifying awaits. There's very little time to relax because each and every driver will need to bring their A game to the track for qualifying. They'll need to push themselves to the limit if they're to be challenging for a strong grid position. You simply never know what you'll see come qualifying. Let the competition commence.
Signs seem a bit more encouraging then at the end of Q3. The end of free practice 3. Even Lando Norris down into about 1.5 seconds off the pace there. Oscar Piastri half a second off his teammate. I'm praying we at least get one of these cars into Q2, but it's still not looking great. You know what? I'm going to try a bit of a split strategy this weekend. I feel like Oscar Piastri is going to at least need 2 sets of tyres here in qualifying, and maybe even all 3 if he wants any chance of making it into Q2. So I'm going to send him out straight away there. I'm going to try and leave Lando Norris just on a double run, so he's at least got 1 set of tyres for Q2. But yeah, I'm just not confident about Piastri's pace round here. A faint draft from Yuki Tsunoda just in front of him, but round in the final corner then to start his qualifying lap. Oscar Piastri around one of Formula 1's craziest tracks. Of course, race around here in Formula 2 in 2021. So it hasn't been technically too long, actually, in this hypothetical universe since Oscar Piastri raced around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. But of course, we did see some subtle changes to the venue between last year and this. I think we're even meant to be seeing more changes again, aren't we, next year as well. So certainly times are changing around the Jeddah circuit, but we'll see what time Oscar posts. Well, heading down in towards the final corner, then it's been a fairly tidy lap for the most part from F1's newest driver. Round in the final corner we'll go. Then we'll sit on his shoulder as Oscar Piastri heads up towards the line. Love the fact his helmet kind of matches up with the car there. Tsunoda 1.3 off pole. Piastri goes pretty much the same time as Yuki there, so actually not as bad as I thought. And with that, we'll send out Lando. Trying to find Lando some free space there. He's going to trip over Charles Leclerc as we head out the final corner. That was definitely a Max Verstappen out of the final turn, but here we go then, Lando Norris for his first lap in anger. To be fair, we're not actually as far away in qualifying here as we were in free practice. I'm sure we'll see other times ramp up, but yeah, Piastri only about half second away from Pierre Gasly, who's gone quicker than Lewis Hamilton here early on. Maybe Lando, you know, who's half second quicker than Oscar at the end of free practice. Maybe, just maybe, he can get into the thick of it. And so far, a fairly tidy lap then from Lando Norris. It sounds bad, but it's reassuring to see the Williams cars so far away as we head out of the final corner. They're approaching up towards the start-finish line. Will Lando Norris go quicker than his teammate up over the line? Yes, he will. P7 there. Clear of Yuki Tsunoda as well by just 1,000th of a second. But yeah, that time around though, Oscar Piastri actually his first lap very, very competitive then. Only a few hundredths away. We're going to send out both cars then right at the end of the session. If they make it into Q2, great, we got one set of tyres to go for it. If they don't, then it is what it is. Right, well, here we go then. Lando Norris heading out of the final corner to start his last lap here of qualifying for the Saudi Arabian GP, or at least in Q1 anyway. We probably want to stay with Oscar Piastri, though, to be honest, because he's the one that's almost in the drop zone at the moment. Thank you to all of you as well that pointed out to me that exclamation mark is not for grid penalties. It is just the car at risk of being knocked out. So, yeah, I'm still learning F1 Manager at the moment there, as Zhou Guanyu and Mick Schumacher tied just 700ths away behind our Oscar Piastri there, of course. Yeah, I mean, Mick Schumacher could very easily improve, so could Zhou Guanyu. Both Alfa Romeo and Haas have shown good pace at the start of the year. You can see Valtteri Bottas up in P6 at the moment, so we've got to hope that Oscar Piastri can pull his finger out and try and find a little bit more time as well. There is he's not up at the end of Sector 1, 33.3. What has Lando Norris done? A 33.2, so Lando Norris is second up on Oscar, sorry, 1/10 of a second up even, I should say, on Oscar Piastri at the moment there as we head through the sweeping, effectively back straight of this Jeddah circuit. Of course, yeah, those two corners really, really horrible to try and navigate there. You kind of just throw it into the left-hander and pray that it sticks and you set yourself up nicely for the right on the exit there. Kevin Magnussen stays P11, Nicholas Latifi stays down in P19. We should see Sebastian Vettel improve a whole lot more there, as well as Lando Norris improving as the lap has unfolded. Oscar Piastri improving in Sector 2 there, but not by much so far, as up over the line he goes. Oscar Piastri will stay in P14 for now. Will Lando Norris be able to improve behind him? Down into P13 there, as we're waiting to see about Zhou Guanyu and Mick Schumacher. Lando Norris stays P12, goes quicker than Tsunoda once again, so it really is just a question of will Zhou Guanyu and Mick Schumacher be able to find time as they head out of the final corner there. You can see the Haas car in the mirrors as Zhou Guanyu. Will he go quicker than Oscar Piastri? Yes, he will, P11. And Mick Schumacher stays P16 there. Pretty much identical times on both laps from Mick Schumacher, so we will get both cars into Q2. It is the same 5 out in Q1 as it was last weekend, and we sneak through by the skin of our teeth with Oscar Piastri there. Both cars into Q2. They're only going to get one run at it, but that is still a win in my eyes. Right, well, like I said, not expecting either of our cars to make it into Q3, so we're just going to send them out for one run towards the end of Q2 here, fingers crossed. Just going to try and give them a bit of extra track space there with other cars just heading out onto the circuit. But we're going to ride on board then with Lando Norris this time around there. I'm expecting him to be the quicker of our two drivers here. As out of the final corner he goes. Let's ride for a lap then around the Jeddah Corniche circuit with Lando Norris there. Qualifying run, Oscar Piastri there, just getting reminded about something up the road, but there we go then, down in towards turn 1. Lando Norris, third gear through the first corner there, stays in third through the second, of course, trying to avoid the wheel spin on the exit. This McLaren car might not be the fastest in the world, but it certainly still picks up speed out of the corners quite nicely there. It's now down in towards the S's we go, through the left and the right there that make up one of the scariest sections of a Formula 1 circuit there. The walls are right as there as well, so you've got to be really, really careful that you don't turn in too early. And Lando Norris, once again, all the experience that still this very, very young driver has there. Very, very neat and tidy through the first sector there. Of course, green in sector 1. Again, about a tenth quicker than Oscar Piastri at the moment there as we head out through the next few corners, of course, in towards one of the biggest, weirdly, one of the biggest braking zones of the lap when you exclude turn 1 in the final corner there. Yeah, again, that corner, you've got to come down about 3 gears. 6th, 7th then on the exits. He tries to get the shortest and smoothest run through this next section of, well, corners technically, but they're not really corners in a Formula 1 car. Absolutely flat out until he gets down into here. Brake at about 60 metres in through the left. Flick it very, very aggressively. I've tried to avoid the curbing on the right on the exit there. Open up the DRS once more as you get prepared yourself now mentally for the final corner. Of course, the track kind of opens up down in towards this final turn. We have got one car in the way. Fingers crossed Oscar Piastri has not been compromised by them, as up over the line Oscar Piastri will go into P12 there. Lando Norris is going to get a handy slipstream off one of the cars in front of him. That's going to be a 1:30, and Lando Norris currently P10 then. He's right on the cusp of the drop zone. We've got a lot of other cars on laps though, but could Lando Norris sneak by? And the answer, sadly, immediately is no there. Pierre Gasly going even faster up the road. We're actually running on board with Kevin Magnussen. So you can see Lando Norris has been shifted back down into P11 there. Esteban Ocon, I think, also improving, but stays in P11 for now. As you can see, Fernando Alonso pushes himself a little bit more into safety. Will Kevin Magnussen make it into Q3? No, he will not there. He'll stay, actually, in P13, so unable to improve. And to be honest, P12 and P15 was a lot better than I thought we'd do after free practice. We will absolutely take that then at the end of qualifying as Lando Norris just heading through the final corner. And it might not be the prettiest sight in the world there, both cars knocked out in Q2, but a vast improvement over what we were able to do in free practice yesterday. There, Oscar Piastri, I think, did get a little bit held up, but I don't think he was going to do any better than P15 if he got the lap nailed. But let's get into it, though. Saudi Arabian Grand Prix time. 12th place, maybe, just maybe. If we get a well-timed safety car, we can snooker away points here, but we'll have to wait and see what the car can do. It struggled on Sunday last weekend. Hopefully that's not the same story tonight.
It's race day, and final preparations are underway.
McLaren did well during qualifying. They maximized their potential and are in a good position for the race today. Haas met their potential in qualifying, and they'll be expected to make a good start from the grid. Let's see if they can make it work for them. And the race will be taking place under blue skies. That means the teams should be able to apply their strategies without any added complications.
Well, the streets of Jeddah are abuzz, and the teams are nearly ready for the start of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Well, I can't lie, I thought it was meant to be nighttime here for the Jeddah Corniche GP street race, but it is what it is, I suppose. I mean, it's showing nighttime there, so I've got no idea what's going on at the moment. But in terms of strategy then, again, we're going to have to probably try and take it fairly safe once more. Mediums to hards, I think, is going to be the way to go this weekend. Might try, you know what, we'll go medium hard on Lando, but we'll try and go the alternate with Oscar Piastri there. You know, try and open up. If we get a safety car somewhere, we want at least one of our cars, of course, to be in that position. Of course, you know, we're not too worried about, you know, the whole sort of Ferrari dynamic about letting the cars race, things like that. It's a very, very different story down at McLaren at the moment. We're just trying to get both cars as high up the order as we can. And if that means one weekend one of them gets screwed, if it means the other might have a chance of points, it is what it is there. Sadly, we can't quite instigate a Singapore 2008 Renault style, but it is what it is. Let's get into it, though. Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, P12 and 15, two different strategies. Fingers crossed we can make something work and maybe, just maybe, sneak away a point.
It looks like clear skies tonight, with the drivers now in their grid positions. And there is Lando Norris. Slower than most yesterday, so today they'll be starting from the bottom half of the grid. And it's the other McLaren. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. Everything's been building to this. It's almost time for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Well, there we go then, hoping to try and get a clean start as we head down in towards Turn 1. We'll have a look at the front of the field there as Max Verstappen looks to lead the way through Turn 1 there. Carlos Sainz P2 there as well. Sergio Perez trying to have a bit of a look up the inside there off the corner. Oscar Piastri stays in P15. No, he gets jumped down into 16th place. There is Lando Norris going backwards as well. As looks like Mick Schumacher was the driver that picked up a move there off the start. Both of our cars actually losing places to both Haas cars there very, very early on. So got to be a bit careful about them apparently in this season. But in terms of tyre wear then, of course, tyre choice even, most cars actually using mediums or hards. They're just Oscar Piastri and Mick Schumacher on a set of soft compound tyres. So I'm led to believe then that it is going to be a one-stop strategy by most today. But Verstappen leads the way as we head out the first few corners. Sergio Perez the only one of the front runners on a set of hard compound tyres. But nice to see, there is a bit of confusion, a bit of mix-up at the front of the field. I'm still a believer on F1 Manager. If we're doing what the AI are doing, often we're probably making the right choice, at least very, very early on in this series. As we head down the back straight though on this opening lap, I feel like this weekend is going to require a bit more sort of micromanagement if we want to try and bolster our cars up the order there. As you can just see Lando Norris watching on the Haas car just in front of him there, as he's got Zhou Guanyu, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon all duking it out down in towards the next couple of corners there. I think they're almost 3 wide for a brief moment, as here comes Ocon to the inside of Pierre Gasly. Why have I got the track map? I want to have a look what's going on. As through the final corner, here goes Esteban Ocon. Soft tyres versus Gasly's hard. Surely this was going to be a done deal as he heads out of the final turn there. Lando Norris just waiting in the wings. Oscar Piastri a little bit further back there, but like I said, a lot of cars around him starting on the hards. That's all we got. Fernando Alonso having a look up the inside of George Russell in towards the first corner. Big send coming in from Fernando there as they're both stuck behind Valtteri Bottas, but Ocon's pulled off the move. Norris is still in P13 there. Piastri seem to have a good seat in the house to watch on the battle between Yuki Tsunoda and Mick Schumacher early on here, as Mick Schumacher has to try and make forward progress early on in this race. But we've kept it clean and tidy. We've survived the start. Looks like Leclerc has got the jump on Perez as well further up the road. So I think it's going to be a tough test for those hard compound runners, as both Alpines could be looking quite racy there in 8th and 9th on a bit more of an aggressive strategy. Coming towards the end of lap 2 though, we've still got battles going on all around us, but Mick Schumacher now closing in on Lando Norris. Again, I'm not really sure this is a battle worth having early on in this GP. Like I said, Mick Schumacher on that set of soft compound tyres. Lando Norris is going to go defensive on him through the final corner, but of course Mick should have a little bit more grip on those softs. And to be honest, if we can try and utilise Mick Schumacher here early on in the Grand Prix, maybe he can drag us up towards those next cars using his soft tyres, then we'll absolutely try and take it. But for now though, Lando Norris will hang on, as luckily Piastri just slowly breaking away from the Sebastian Vettels, your Aston Martins, your Williams at the back of the grid. This time round though, Mick Schumacher, as we start lap 4, will take that place from from Lando Norris there. It's back in towards turn 1. Look at this. Cars absolutely hammer and tongue there through the first couple of corners. Mick Schumacher left in an inopportune place on the exit of the corner there, but surely still going to be able to get the move done there, as Lando Norris does not want to give this one up. No, Mick Schumacher will back out of it. And again, sort of nice to see that Oscar Piastri might be on the hard tyres, but he is sticking to the back of this group. I'm tempted to leave Lando just to sort of see what happens over the next few laps, and then by about lap 10 we might have to tell him just to get on with it a bit more. There's just a reminder on tyres. Gasly and Zhou Guanyu both on hards just in front. I think Ocon has broken away slightly there. So, I mean, this is a battle that extends to the top 10. But yeah, I think Norris and Kevin Magnussen both need to get on with it a bit more. But we haven't got any spare fuel, of course. This McLaren is quite a thirsty girl, I think is the way we're going to describe it early on this season. So I'm going to tell Lando Norris just to get on the deploy there, but he is defending rather aggressively from Mick Schumacher behind. You know what, we'll tell him just to go all out for a lap or so here, see if he can try and make some progress on Kevin Magnussen. Of course, we've still got Mick Schumacher there all over our gearbox down in towards the final corner. I feel like Lando's got to try and get on with it a little bit more there, as down in towards the final turn. Of course, where we saw back in the Ferrari career mode, Carlos Sainz pull off a triple overtake back in towards turn 1 there. Don't quite think we're going to see the same heroics from Lando Norris here, but he'll certainly give it his best run there, as here comes Lando Norris to the inside of Kevin Magnussen, to the inside of Zhou Guanyu as well. Oh, he thought about it in through that first corner, but he's got to try and get past Kevin Magnussen as best as possible here. K-Mag will try and defend off the corner, but there we go. Kevin Magnussen does back out of it, and now Lando Norris up into P12 once again then of this race. We'll get him just to save fuel a little bit through the S's, and then we'll get him to push back on again. Maybe, just maybe, we could try and get this McLaren car into the top 10, as try not to forget about Piastri behind. He's just sitting waiting in the wings at the moment. I feel like we've got to get him as a rear gunner later on, but we've just got to bide our time and focus on Lando Norris early. I mean, this is, of course, the problem with the Jeddah Corner Street Circuit. It's just how nip and tuck it is there, as you always get... I was not expecting that. My apologies. Lando Norris just suddenly there. That's a horrible camera angle because you never quite know what's going on. 3 wide as we head down in towards the final couple of turns of this 5th lap of the Grand Prix there. Come on, lads. It's only lap 5 as now we're 3 wide again. Lando Norris on the inside there. Ocon and Zhou Guanyu around the outside out of the final corner. Will Lando Norris? Yes, he will still have the DRS there. And Lando Norris is into the points of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We've got Oscar Piastri as well, trying to make something happen a little bit further back, but I think he's just greeted by a wall of Formula 1 cars there, as we've got to try and let Lando Norris get away at the front. You can see 3 wide as we head back down through turn 1 there, and Lando Norris, we've just got to bring him back into neutral. We'll leave him on push mode at the moment, and we'll set him just to go a bit aggressive on the tyres for a lap or 2. But yeah, I feel like Oscar again, though, we've just got to try and get him to sit back early on here. He should come on strong later on, as you know, the likes of Mick Schumacher on those soft tyres, they're going to burn out quite quickly. But Lando Norris into the points of the Saudi Arabian GP there, and he's pulled out immediately a second over Gasly as well. He's got to push on. This is prime vintage Lando. As at the front of the field, looks like Sainz has made a move on Max Verstappen for the race lead, but yeah, at the moment we're just biding our time with Oscar Piastri here as we get towards 20% race distance. He's still just sat at the back of this pack, but I feel like he's in a prime place here, prime position, just to kind of save the tyres and then go all out. Maybe when they all box we can try and get him on an overcut, or go softs towards the end and be really fast. So there we go, first few cars into the pit lane. That is Ocon and Mick Schumacher then, so they're probably both going to be bolting on a set of hard compound tyres to see him through to the end of the Grand Prix. So it is possible then, or at least we think it's going to be possible, that you can do softs to hards here. But yeah, Mick Schumacher in a bit of a world of hurt, to be honest. Lando Norris starting to struggle a bit more on his tyres. I think we're just going to have to try and get him to push on again away from Pierre Gasly behind him, because he had broken out and was actually running some very, very competitive lap times, but the DRS is just so potent around here. As again, still Oscar Piastri is biding his time. I don't want to feel like we're forgetting about him early on in this race, but I think the definite focus is on Lando. Like I said in the intro, sometimes one of our drivers might have to get screwed to make sure the other one gets points. That may or may not include getting forgotten about early on in races. Oh no, Zhou Guanyu up the inside of Lando Norris back in towards turn 1. I think again we might just have to try and sit back in this pack of cars again, because Norris, yeah, has just lost the one place. And I can't help but feel like it's just going to continue to be backwards and forwards here. It's almost like it's not worth being at the front of the group, because the DRS is still so powerful on F1 Manager. I know it has been nerfed quite a bit. That it just sometimes feels like it's worth sitting at the back of a group, just managing things, and then going all out once they've boxed around you. As you can just see, all of those cars still split between softs and mediums, but Lando Norris there just behind Zhou Guanyu, still inside the top 10, but I feel like, yeah, he's shredding his tyres a bit. Or we go all out on Lando Norris, box him about lap 20 onto hards to the end, and pray that he can just try and get a bit of a jump. Right, it's getting a bit all topsy-turvy at the moment, though. It looks like Pierre Gasly and Zhou Guanyu have been able to break free slightly, so I'm honestly tempted to box Lando. Oh, well, they reckon he needs to be coming in next lap anyway, so you know what? We'll bring him into the pit lane then, 1 lap early here. We're going to get him to absolutely destroy this set of tyres. But yeah, now we've got to focus a little bit on what Oscar Piastri is doing as well, because he has got to try and push on. Now we're hopefully going to get a couple of these cars out of the way there. You know, the likes of Magnussen as well. Shouldn't be long before he's pitting in there. As you can see, both cars. What's happened to Lando? What's happened to Lando? He's just stopped. Why? Why did he stop on the racing line there? He's just cost Oscar Piastri a load of time as well. I have well and truly been F1 managered in that situation. Doesn't appear to be anything terminal, though, on Lando Norris's car. Just a bit of a blunder as he was heading into the pit lane entry, but should oh, he's going to re-emerge in traffic, isn't he? It's going to be close between him and Seb on pit exit. Where is Lando Norris? Oh, he's coming out. You can see him in the back of the shot. He's going to have to really push on, though, because he's just come out right out in this train of cars that none of them are going to be pitting for a few laps. And now Oscar Piastri needs to get the hammer down because he has been well and truly shafted. Oh, no. Oh, there we go. Oscar Piastri. Sorry, no. Yeah, Oscar Piastri running out of battery, though, as he tries to close up back to the cars in front there. I mean, how far away have they pulled away? It's only about 3 seconds back behind Zhou Guanyu, Kevin Magnussen and Yuki Tsunoda, and also obviously Pierre Gasly. But it is really, really detrimental there. As there we go, Lando Norris has snuck by. Makes the move work on Sebastian Vettel. Hopefully shouldn't be long before they all pit, as... yeah, I think we might just have to go harvest on Piastri for a lap or two. He's sat, yeah, about 3 seconds away from those cars in front, but Lando Norris needs to continue to get the hammer down. Don't get trapped battling the likes of Sebastian Vettel here, because, of course, he's still got that battle with Kevin Magnussen going on as K-Mag into the pit lane. But there goes Sebastian Vettel up the inside in towards the final corner. Lando Norris will try and keep the nose there. He should get the DRS because of it, but he needs to try and break free from the Aston Martin car rather than battling him as Kevin Magnussen heads back out of the pit lane once more. We've got the other Aston Martin of Stroll into the pit lane. Where are we going to re-emerge in comparison to K-Mag? Here comes Lando Norris, and K-Mag's got the jump on him. Look at that, all Williams as well. Trying to have a look up the inside there, but Lando still stuck behind Sebastian Vettel here. This is not doing us any favours as Piastri, we're just monitoring him at the moment as well. There's a lot going on in this race. But we're just going to bring Piastri back towards neutral. If we can get him to about lap 35, then we can go soft to the end. It's going to be an aggressive strategy call, but I feel like it might be worth it. We're not going to be able to do that. The tyre wear's not going to be there. We're going to have to bring him onto mediums. So, yeah, unless we get a safety car, I feel like we've just got to try and push on here. Soldier on, as Lando still can't get back past Sebastian Vettel. He's got to work away around the Aston Martin there. As, of course, Kevin Magnussen is just starting to break free a little bit. Lap 20 of 50 of this GP. Carlos Sainz into the pit lane as well. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out in front in their battle, as Sergio Perez, of course, yet to box. Here goes Lando again, though, as we head down through the S's. Are we now going to be able to try and find a way past Sebastian Vettel, who's going to try and sit defensive in towards the next corner? Lando Norris round the outside, swoops through, and back up then into P15 of the Grand Prix there. We'll just tend to go on the deploy for a lap or so. I mean, it's not going to be a lap's worth. There's Sebastian Vettel again has got the DRS, though. Please don't make another move work up the inside, Sebastian. No, we will not this time. But yeah, Lando's just going to go all out as we head out of the final corner. Bring it back down into neutral. We're probably going to have to go harvest again. But if he can stay ahead down this DRS straight, then we might have a fighting chance just to break away through the S's there. Sebastian Vettel can't quite do anything. We'll bring him into harvest. And Lando has finally got the job done. As Oscar Piastri as well under pressure from Fernando Alonso. Here comes Fernando up the inside. I can't even commentate that. Fernando Alonso even has just vaporised through a barrier here around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. That surely is an illegal upgrade on that Alpine. You cannot have teleportation and invisibility in your Formula 1 car. That definitely breaks some rules. But fingers crossed, though, Oscar can try and stick with Fernando Alonso then in the DRS. Try and drag him up towards the likes of Gasly, Tsunoda and Zhou Guanyu, who are all still duking it out, as he's pulled off a move again.
Copy. You're doing a good job.
Just Piastri thinks, you know, he'll overtake a double Formula 1 world champion like it's nothing in his second Grand Prix weekend. It's just what he does, apparently. Oh, I think Oscar Piastri is just about to lose a place to the other Alpine car as well. As things have just kind of calmed down a little bit for us at the moment, as those Alpines have definitely got invisibility. I've got no idea how they've managed that, but yeah, Oscar, just got to keep your head down. Nope, he's going to go for it again on the other Alpine car there, and Oscar Piastri will not give up on any moves without a fight. Problem is he's losing a lot of time to the cars in front of Tsunoda, Gasly and co, and just cannot get back within the range. Right, there we go. About to start lap 30, Oscar Piastri, yep, has lost the place to Esteban Ocon once again there, and just dropping back ever so slightly. The only other thing I'm worried about is, of course, Kevin Magnussen not far behind him on a fresh set of the mediums. You know what, I think we'll bring Oscar in just one lap early as well then. 20 laps on a set of medium tyres, though, is not going to be particularly fun towards the end of this Grand Prix. Tyre wear has been a bit worse than I think any of us are anticipating around this circuit. It's Lando Norris, you know, we might end up having to two-stop both these cars, to be honest, with depending on how things shape up later on. But yeah, just looks like, you know, the likes of AlphaTauri still have a bit too much pace. I think our battle is going to be with Haas throughout the entirety of the afternoon there. But yeah, Piastri really struggling there. I think he is one of... there's quite a few cars yet that are yet to box. But just, yeah, this McLaren is not quite as gentle on its tyres like the Ferrari was last season. As into the pits then, Oscar Piastri will go just over half distance done on those hard tyres, so nothing to be too disappointed with, but it might just be about monitoring the strategy later on in the afternoon there. I think he should come out around Sebastian Vettel in this Grand Prix, but we need to make sure that we're jumping those Aston Martins week in and week out there. You know, we want to be trying to set ourselves ahead of them, as Lando Norris then re-inherits P14 from his teammate. Where will Piastri come out in comparison to Sebastian Vettel? He should, yeah, no. He's going to be comfortably ahead of Sebastian then. But yeah, both cars in a bit of no man's land. They're battling it out with the Haas cars. He's not too far away, actually, from Mick Schumacher, so Piastri has still got a hunt to do. There we go then. Hasn't really taken Oscar Piastri very long at all there, as we've got a few of the other hard compound runners there. Perez, Bottas, Hamilton, all into the pit lane. As, yeah, now are we going to see Oscar make a move on the Haas car? I feel like we have made a step forward there, as up the inside he'll go on Mick Schumacher. Don't notice our teleportation device. It's only Alpine that are doing that illegally, as here comes Mick, though, back around the outside in towards the next couple of corners at 2/3 race distance. Is the Haas car going to have enough as we head in towards the final corner? Here goes Mick Schumacher up the inside of Oscar Piastri, the two most recent Formula 2 champions, duking it out on the Saudi streets in Formula 1 material there. Mick Schumacher will once again have the DRS, though, so that one might just go the way of the Haas car there. As Yuki Tsunoda, where's he going to re-emerge? They're just ahead of Lando Norris, so, wow. Ocon, yeah, we could still be fairly close to points by the end of this. As, yeah, there we go. Mick has kept the place for now. Long, though, before Oscar Piastri's trying to have a look for it again, though, as we head down the back straight. The DRS is just so powerful in these cars at the moment. To the outside this time of Mick Schumacher. Swoops through again. The second time we've seen a move like that come from one of our drivers today. Zhou Guanyu, one of the last cars into the pit lane. I don't think he was the only car yet to box in this Grand Prix. You know, George Russell's still hanging out there on his hard compound tyres. So maybe, just maybe, we're going to see he try and go onto softs towards the end there. But around the outside through the final turn. Will this time round Oscar Piastri get the DRS? Yes, he will. That one's going to be a done deal. And now hopefully through the S's he can pull away from the Haas car behind him. Zhou Guanyu going to re-emerge just behind Lando Norris. So we are only about 8 seconds away from the point still. But tyre wear is not looking brilliant on Lando Norris's car, so we're probably going to need a bit of a miracle. To be honest, Oscar Piastri might be our better chance for points late on in the day. Esteban Ocon. Actually, Ocon's on a two-stop strategy here, so he might get jumped by a lot of cars in this moment. Zhou Guanyu has pulled off the move again on Lando Norris as we head back down towards turn 1. Lando thinks about ascend, but Zhou Guanyu covers off that one as, yeah, Lando Norris then back into P13 of this Grand Prix. He's only, yeah, about 6 seconds away from the points as Oscar Piastri there hanging on. He might have to try and defend from Esteban Ocon towards the end of this one. But, yeah, both cars in decent shape, but it just doesn't feel like we can really gamble a lot with either of them. We'll try and get Oscar just to push on up towards those cars in front. But, yeah, it is still going to be a big gamble towards the end. Lap 40 of 50, though. Esteban Ocon has moved back past Oscar Piastri here, so I think it's going to be a matter of when rather than if the Alpine probably gets himself back into the points here. It's been a bit of an odd strategy call from Alpine. They're on a two-stop today. But yeah, I mean, if Ocon can still claw back into the points, there might not be the worst thing in the world. Just going to bring both our drivers back down on their tyres. I think we've just got to try and see if we get lapped as well. That's probably going to be the big indicator of how much forward progress we're making, as Lando Norris now going to be focusing on his mirrors. We're definitely getting closer to the cars in front, but still just feels like we're lacking that last final ultimate bit of pace here early on in the championship. As here comes Esteban Ocon again. Don't really think it's going to be worth battling, but again, Lando Norris, you know, he's done very, very well today, but it might be Oscar Piastri on the slightly better strategy that ends up beating out his teammate. As Don't really want them to battle too hard with each other. We need them to try and focus on catching the cars in front, as I think Zhou Guanyu senses the opportunity for points as well. Kevin Magnussen just trying to hang on in there against Pierre Gasly. But yeah, both our cars now sat behind Ocon. Hopefully, he can try and drag us towards them, as I am going to give Piastri the team order not to battle his teammate for now.
Swap positions, please.
What? They're not in the wrong positions. Just don't fight each other, please. Just do it properly. Honest, I feel like now we've got to go the other way with team orders. I'm going to tell Lando Norris not to hold up Oscar Piastri because he definitely seems to be quicker at the moment. He's got a bit more tyre wear, and there we go. Lando Norris. No, they will fight. Of course they'll fight. There we go. Lando Norris will now let Oscar Piastri by. But yeah, both of them starting to struggle just a little bit on tyre wear, but I'm kind of hoping that Piastri's mediums can drag Lando along towards the checkered flag. There's definitely a battle now going on for those final points-paying positions, but are our cars going to get close enough by the end? 5 laps to go, 11 seconds, the gap between Gasly and Oscar Piastri there. I mean, Piastri, I think, is setting quicker times. Last lap, no, he wasn't. Oscar Piastri's still not going quicker than those other cars. I think the dream, again, might be a little bit dead. Oh, less than 3 laps to go, though, and Carlos Sainz has caught up to the back of Lando Norris here. McLaren, it's really a bitter pill to swallow when you think we were fighting Ferrari in 2021. 2022 has not been the regulation change for McLaren as of yet, but Ferrari have certainly adjusted quite well as, yeah, Lando Norris is about to go a lap down here. That is him out of any hope we had today of points there, but Piastri's still 6 seconds up the road. Maybe, just maybe, you can hang on there. As yeah, Lando Norris's tyres are completely gone. We took a gamble to try and get him out into clear air, and it has not worked. Head through the final couple of corners, though, about to start the final lap of the Grand Prix. It is already the final lap of the Grand Prix, sadly, for Lando Norris. But Carlos Sainz, it looks like he's going to come through for his first race victory of the year there. Prove that Ferrari have got what it takes to go up against Red Bull there. Max Verstappen will once again finish P2 ahead of Charles Leclerc, though. But Oscar Piastri will mean for the first time this year one of our cars is going to make it to the end of a Grand Prix not lapped. You know, it's not a massive win, but it is a win within itself there. Look at this battle going on just outside the points there. Esteban Ocon now defending from Kevin Magnussen and Yuki Tsunoda, so I guess it's reassuring for us to see that Haas are not going to score points this weekend. Lando Norris will technically be the second car to finish. Just saying, you know, maybe we should get 18 points for that, but yeah, a bit of a disappointing end to the Grand Prix for us, of course. Yeah, Lando Norris again, just a bit unlucky with strategy. We tried to get him out in some clear air. It didn't quite work out for us today. Verstappen, like we said, will come through for P2 ahead of Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez there. Looks like Hamilton is going to come through for 5th place there. Bottas and George Russell duking it out through the final corner here. Who's going to get this one on the drag race up towards the line? I think George Russell is just about going to have enough to hang on there against the man he replaced at Mercedes. It is going to be close to the line. Just a 10th between them. But yeah, Valtteri Bottas cannot quite complete that move there. Again, another year where Valtteri Bottas' drag race was someone up towards the start-finish line here in Jeddah. Alonso comes through for P8 ahead of Zhou Guanyu. It looks like is just about going to hang on ahead of Pierre Gasly here. So that 2-stop strategy by Alpine really has not worked out for Ocon today. Will Zhou Guanyu make it 2 points for Alfa Romeo? Yes, he will. It's a tie across the line there, and Pierre Gasly did get him when all is said and done. So I've never seen that before on F1 Manager, but they completely tied across the line. But for us, though, it's P14 and P15. A better result than last weekend, but not by a lot, to be completely honest. But we're taking steps in the right direction.
It was such a joy to watch McLaren's driver give it their all. A fantastic result for McLaren there.
This was thrilling to watch. They've done an excellent job and they deserve all the plaudits.
With the race wrapped up, the team is ranked in 9th in the constructor standings.
And for the next round, Formula One is heading down under. Exciting times ahead in Australia on the shores of the Albert Park Lake.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Saudi Arabian GP, and it is Carlos Sainz who takes home a race victory there. Very, very fast Grand Prix, of course, as you would come to expect there. All wrapped up in less than 80 minutes there for our race winner. Ahead of Max Verstappen there, both Ferraris got the jump on the Red Bulls there in the end. +1, -1, +1, -1 there as Merckx and Valtteri Bottas stayed where they started. Alonso there up in P8, more points for Alpine ahead of Gasly and Zhou Guanyu for Alfa Romeo as well. And sorry, there was 100th between them at the checkered flag when all is said and done. Oscar Piastri up 1 place, but again, it seems like Lando Norris's pace on Saturday can't quite be emulated come Sunday there. He got a little bit screwed on strategy again, but it is what it is. That means championship-wise, Verstappen still leads the way. Such that we're up into P2, ahead of his teammate and Sergio Perez there. George Russell jumps Pierre Gasly. Alonso jumps Ocon in the Battle of the Alpine. Zhou Guanyu now with his first point of the year as well. And unfortunately, neither of our drivers actually move up at all based on countback, which means, again, sadly, the constructors, we are still sat in P9. Red Bull and Ferrari tied, though, at the top with 71 points apiece. Mercedes still third, way ahead of Alfa Romeo there. AlphaTauri and Alpine, and yep, still Haas, Aston, McLaren and Williams yet to score after the opening couple of Grand Prix weekends. But thank you all so much for watching this video nonetheless. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well. And we will return to Australia very, very soon. We've got our first upgrades coming on the car. We're getting closer to points. I'm not going to say definitely Australia, but I am feeling weirdly confident. We'll be back very, very soon with more F1 Manager. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.